college basketball season is less than 1 week away, and the season starts with a bang. There are 126 games scheduled for Monday, November 7th, with Baylor and Mississippi Valley State tipping off at noon Eastern Time. We have 2 ways to help you get this season underway. Number 1, as we did for the start of the NHL season and as well as the beginning of the NBA season, all 7-day college basketball packages will be only $49 through Sunday, November 13th at midnight. Number 2, head to Ralph Michaels' homepage at WagerTalk.com and get the free 100-page college basketball preview. The shortcut to Ralph's page is wt.buzz/rm. This 100-page guide has returning starters, percentage of returning minutes, last season's overall stats, as well as conference-only statistics, plus against the spread and over-under data. It also includes coaching data, conference previews, and a forecast for each conference. Whether it's a 7-day college basketball package, checking the WagerTalk odds page for updated numbers, or downloading the free college basketball guide, enjoy this season. And March Madness will be here before we know it.
Happy Tuesday, guys. Carmine Bianco. This is WagerTalk TV and Stoppage Time. A little different show today. Obviously, the Champions League is on hiatus after the group stages completed last week. The final 16 teams are into the next round. That won't come until February the 16th. So until then, some of the Tuesday shows will look at some other domestic league games going on, and of course, as the World Cup nears, we'll look at some World Cup games as well. With me from WagerTalk.com, it's Nick Borrman and Kevin Dolan, and from Sports Memo, Pavlos, Laguretos. Boys, let's bring you in. Champions League's done. I will say a couple very interesting matchups in Champions League. PSG, Bayern Munich, and then, of course, Liverpool, Real Madrid. Those are two really good matchups, and 2 matchups between previous finalists over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see once February rolls around how those ones go. How you guys doing, Nick? I know you're a little under the weather, but I thank you for trying to get through this show today. How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel like crap. It was a rough weekend in Philadelphia, Carm. You know, the Phillies couldn't get it done. The Union had the title all in their hands a couple minutes ago, and Gareth Bale, who hasn't done shit all year, he scored a goal, and then, of course, they won a penalty. So, you know, I've been better. I've been throwing up just thinking about it, but I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to get back to the soccer grind, if you will, and break down these games for this week. And I'll miss Champions League, of course. I think we all will. It's favorite competition in the world. But listen, midweek domestic action is always good too.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, that game was unbelievable. I've been to a couple MLS Cup finals here in Toronto. The first one against both against Pavlos's Seattle Sounders. The first one went to penalty kicks. Seattle had no shots on goal through 90 minutes, through 30 minutes of extra time, but got it to penalties and won it in penalties. We exacted a measure of revenge in the following year, beating them 2-0 to hoist the cup. But those games paled in comparison to the one that we saw. Just an unbelievable game between LAFC. Full marks to them. Congratulations to them, and the Philadelphia Union. Kev, how are things?
Yeah, all good, Carmine. I feel like I should adopt an MLS team because how does Pavlos is from Greece? How does he have an MLS team and I don't have an MLS team? I'm gonna just choose one off the top of my head. Like I'm just gonna pick the Houston Dynamo. I think they're gonna be my team. So I'm gonna buy a shirt for next season and I'm gonna be rocking all the Houston games. But yeah, look, I had a fantastic weekend. 12-4 overall. Swept in college football. 2-0 in NFL. NHL big total winner as well, and I won on your team as well. Juventus, big soccer player of the day for me on Sunday. So yeah, I was really impressed with the weekend overall, and excited for the World Cup and this week's games as well.
All right. There's a big Irish community in Chicago, so you might want to become a Chicago Fire fan. That one might be right up your alley. Pavlos, how are we doing before we kick off our first game of the day?
Doing great. I just wanted to say that Nick Borrman had a really nice goal scorer prop with Gazdag in that MLS Cup final. And Kevin, you need to pick a team from the Western Conference, mate, because we got Nick with the Union, we got Carmine with Toronto. I'm alone in the Western Conference with Seattle Sounders, so I need some help, bro. Just Houston is a nice team. Just pick Houston.
He'll take if and when it'll happen at some point. The Las Vegas gets an MLS squad. That's where Kevin will want to adopt Vegas, so he can go to Vegas and watch some games and just call it work with his wife, right? So that'll work out fine with you guys. So guys, on today's show, we are going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to go a Bundesliga game that goes today at 12:30 Eastern time, and then we're going to a couple games tomorrow. La Liga, Sevilla and Real Sociedad tomorrow. It's Wolfsburg and Dortmund today, and then we're going to do an EFL Cup game. Probably the biggest one over the next couple of days, Man City and Chelsea. So let's get right to it, guys. First game, Wolfsburg and Dortmund. Let's get the numbers up on this one. We got Wolfsburg at home, plus 250. The draw is also plus 250. Dortmund, plus 105. Now, those are the openers. Here are the numbers since. We've got Wolfsburg at plus 214 now. They've taken money. The draw is at 257. Dortmund from plus 105 up to plus 123 on the WagerTalk live lines, which you can always access for free on our site. Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. A couple injuries to this Dortmund one, and that could be the reason why the line is moving. Marco Reus injured again, and he did not travel with the team to Wolfsburg. But then you've got a Wolfsburg team. Their last loss for this team was mid-September. They played 8 games since in all competitions, 4 wins, 4 draws. The only thing I don't like about this one is that it is tough to go against, historically, these two teams when they meet. It's been all Dortmund. Last 14 games, 13 wins by Dortmund, 1 draw. Wolfsburg just can't seem to get there. I'm going the under here. It's at 2.75. It started at 3. It's been steamed down to 2.75, which is a split line of 2.5 and 3. I'm going to lean under here and look for a close one, a 1-0, 2-0, or 1-1 draw type of game. Give me your thoughts, Nick.
Yeah, you got two opposite trends obviously going on here with, you mentioned Dortmund dominating the head-to-head series, 13 of the last 14 meetings. They have won with 1 draw, and then Wolfsburg, as you said, hot coming in and have played well at home all year. Granted, they've avoided all of the Champions League teams from the league, Bayern, Leipzig, Frankfurt, and Leverkusen so far. So a little bit of a later schedule. I was on Dortmund, even with the injuries, which they do have, Dortmund that is. I was on them over the weekend for a 5% play over Bochum, and they won 3-0. So that was a nice win. And I think it's going to be a tough turnaround for them here, getting on the road and going to Wolfsburg and being injured. And, even though, historically they've shown that they should win this game, I think it's just a tough spot on just short days rest. But I am a little concerned because I don't really want to go against that trend for whatever reason. They just know how to beat Wolfsburg. So I'll steal a line from Pavlos and say, I don't care who wins this game. Instead, I'm looking at a prop on this one, and that's corners, because I do think the game is going to play out where both teams are going to put a little pressure on each other. They may not end up scoring, and I don't want one bounce of the ball to determine whether or not I lose the bet. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure. The angle that I like is over 9.5 corners. Dortmund ranks number 2 in the league at 6.3 corners per game, and including seven on the road. And Wolfsburg ranked number 5 at 5.2 per game, and a much higher 6.8 at home. Each of the last 4 meetings between these teams all have finished with at least 10 corners, averaging 12.75 per match. So these matches just kind of tend to play out similarly every single year, and there's usually a lot of pressure on both sides. So I'm looking at the prop over 9.5 corners, boys, and I don't care who wins.
I don't care who wins. I love that, Nick. Very, very good on that one. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you next on this one. Can you buck either one of these trends, and if so, which one?
Listen, I'm a guy that likes historical data, and there are certain teams and in certain leagues that I base my bets on how they do historically. And as you guys said, Dortmund 13 wins, 1 draw in the last 14 matches against Wolfsburg. They've won each of the last 7, regardless of venue, against Wolfsburg by 2 goals or more. They kept 5 clean sheets in the process. They've won 7 in a row in this venue. And, this Wolfsburg side, I've been watching them from the start of the season. They made a really poor start in the season with just 1 win in the first 7 matches. They had 4 losses and 2 draws. They scored just 5 goals in the first 7 matches of the season, but then they flipped the switch. They're now unbeaten in the last 7 with 4 wins and 3 draws. They scored 2+ goals in 6 of their last 7, and they scored a total of 17 goals in those last 7. So Niko Kovac is doing a really good job with a limited talent in this Wolfsburg side, and he sidelined players who are not 105% fit. He really likes the lineup to be really, really super fit. So we see these really great runs from this Wolfsburg players. So I'm not so sure what to expect in terms of the tempo. And Dortmund, yes, they had a really bad luck with injuries so far in the season, starting at the start of the season with Aller, and Adeyemi was also injured, but they've learned to live with them. And even though they've not been very flashy so far in the season, and on the road, they haven't been very, very impressive. I do think, this is just a lean for me. I'm going to lean towards Dortmund line at +105. Again, because I take that historical data into a lot of consideration, and I respect teams who have, season in and season out, and for more than a decade, they've shown consistent results against this side. So if I had to pick anything, again, this is just a lean. I think that the Dortmund man line +105, it's going up. It's +110, +120 in certain, if you shop around. So I think it's a risky bet, but if I had to play again, I'd take a Dortmund man line, despite it being going higher.
All right. Yes, and it is going higher. It's at 123 right now on our live lines, as high as 125 at a couple spots, or actually as high as 129 at a couple spots right now. Kev, I'm going to give you the final word on this one. This Dortmund team is a very good team. I always worry about a team that has trouble scoring on the road, and I think they only have 4 goals or 5 goals in their last 4 road contests. Definitely not good as far as Bundesliga sides go in accumulating wins. Give me your thoughts on this one.
I put up a free play on this game on Sunday, actually, over at the WagerTalk free picks page, where I advised to play on Wolfsburg plus a half a goal. I was very close to firing on it myself, but between the time it took me earlier in the day to see the line, went for lunch, finished up the rest of my work, came back. Line had gone from like -110 to -125, -130. You can even see quarter goals right now, as you said, the line's going up. So I just decided to put it up as a free play instead. But the reason's fairly simple, because while the overall XG data table, that was on when during Nick's breakdown, it favours Dortmund overall across the season. When you kind of piece that up for factoring in home road form, plus recency bias to those numbers, it's actually Wolfsburg that have the better overall XG just on those kind of facets of the game. Dortmund do own the better defensive statistics over Wolfsburg in both of those categories. But, it's very marginal. So, this game, at least numbers-wise, looks to be razor close here on Tuesday. And, because of that, if you're giving me a half a goal start either way, that looks to be the direction to go here. So, yeah, I missed the best of the numbers, so laying off the game. But, as I say, I was very close to playing Wolfsburg on Sunday myself.
All right, Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com with his thoughts. Let's have a look at the recap of the plays. I am on the under 2.75. Nick is on over 9.5 corners. Pavlos, Dortmund money line, and Kev with Wolfsburg getting a quarter of a goal. All right, guys, we are going to switch countries and days. We're going to go to a Wednesday game taking place in Spain, Sevilla and Real Sociedad. Let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Sevilla plus, these are the openers, plus 145. The draw was at plus 220, a low 220. Real Sociedad plus 187. The current WagerTalk numbers on this, excuse me, are 157 now for Sevilla. The draw has dropped a bit at plus 218 and Real Sociedad at plus 190. Kev, I'm going to go back to you on this one. I'm going to keep mine simple. Even though it is a very low total at Asian line of 2.25, which is a split line of 2 and 2.5. This just looks like a game that is going to be much like the two games they played last year that finished in scoreless draws. Not a lot of goals. Sevilla struggling, 17th place, 11 points, 18th and 19th in those standings, also on 11. Might not be time to panic, or maybe it is time to panic for this Sevilla team, but they need points. But only 12 goals scored in 6 fixtures played in Sevilla. I'm going under here, under 2.25 for me. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, completely agree, Carmine. Sociedad have one of the best defensive records in the league this year, especially away from home. They've allowed no more than 1 goal to opponents in 9 of the last 10 games overall across both domestic and Europe. That sole game where they did allow 2 goals came with Betis scoring deep into injury time as well. So, they're getting it done on defense. They own the league as, I believe, a second best road defensive XG record this season as well, behind only Barcelona. So, I'm expecting Sociedad, as you said, with Sevilla's goal scoring problems, pretty quiet in this one offensively. Sevilla averaging, I believe, a paltry 0.5 goals per game this season at home. I mean, that's just not getting it done, along with having the fewest goals over recent 5-game sample size in the league as well. So, it's clear bringing back former boss Jorge Sampaoli hasn't been the answer. Sevilla have been looking for, a change in their fortunes this season. I don't know what is the answer, to be honest. They've looked as if they fell off a cliff domestically from last season's form. So I'm the same as you. I don't see many goals in this game for obvious reasons. Real Sociedad, for their part, barely ranked top half in the league themselves this season on goals from open play. Perhaps an over-reliance for them on set-piece situations where they rank number 1 in the league this season. So, kind of not sure where the goals are going to come from in this game. And as a result, for these two teams to amass 3 goals in this game, I just don't see it. So, agree with you. Lean to the under 2.25 here from a totals perspective.
You agree with me. That's what I love about you, Kevin. That's why you're my favorite Irishman. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you next on this one. Like Real Sociedad they've only picked up 1 point in their last 3 games from 9 possible points, and scoring is the reason for that. I think they only have 1 goal in their last 3 games. So you have to figure they're looking to come here and get something out of this. They're sitting 6th right now. You don't want to drop any further. You want to stay within that sights of that top 4, for the end of the year and Champions League. So do they get a result here?
This is tough. This is a very tough match, and my play goes against all logic, but I do have a hunch that Sevilla will not lose here. However, as you said, Real Sociedad are in kind of a dip right now. The goal they scored over the weekend against Valencia was an own goal, actually, and they have a clear problem in scoring goals, especially lately. This Real Sociedad, I had a very close eye on them, and they've been using the same lineup for many consecutive matches. And of course, it got the best of them. Fatigue was more than visible in their last few matches. And of course, injuries, they haven't been free by injuries. Since Isaac went to Newcastle, who is also injured, by the way, they brought Umar Sadiq and Mohamed Ali Cho, and they were both injured within the first, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of the season. They still have a lot of talented players up front who are still injured. So just keep that in mind for the later stages of the season, where Real Sociedad are going to be better in the offense. Now Sevilla, Sevilla are worse in in most statistical categories. They are worse than Real Sociedad and worse than many other teams in this league. Of course, they're coming into this match after a bloodbath against Betis. Of course, we already knew that. 10 yellow cards, 3 red cards, 1 own goal. Forgive me for laughing, but this is one of the matches that I love to watch. And, they're going to be missing a lot of players tonight, especially in the defense. I think they're going to have to use a lot of players out of position. They're going to have to use a makeshift defense because they're missing at least 3 or 4 players. 3 of them are questionable through illnesses and other injuries. But there is a good possibility that Sevilla won't be able to field a proper defensive lineup. So, but still, I think they're under a lot of pressure right now. They're still winless at home, deep down in the 17th spot of the league table. This is not a good time for Sevilla, but I think they're under a lot of pressure right now. And Jorge Sampaoli, who is, he's a very smart coach. He's not very stiff with his formations. For example, he can use a 4-4-2, which transforms into other formations when the team is attacking, and transfers into other formations when the team is defending. So he's a very smart coach, but his hands are tied in terms of who is actually available for this match, especially in the defense. So all things considered, again, I know this is a contrarian play. I know that most people will look towards Real Sociedad, but I have a hunch that Sevilla will not lose today. So tomorrow. So I like Sevilla on the pick'em line -125 here.
All right, Pavlos, Laguretos with Sevilla. Nick, I'm going to go to you next on this one. We talked about it. One of the things is, at least from a goal scoring point of view, Sevilla, 13 games, only 12 goals scored thus far. They're just not finding the back of the net. Can you find a different angle on betting this game?
Why, yes, I can. I'm not going to echo a lot of what you guys say. You guys nailed these teams on the head. It's just weird to say Sevilla have 3 wins in 19 matches this year between La Liga and the Champions League. It's just incredible, sitting in the relegation zone I guess they're tied in that spot, but they own the tiebreaker, whatever. Pretty embarrassing for a team as decorated as they are. It's just their defense is just nothing like what we've seen in the past. 4th lowest XGA last year, 1.07. This year, they're at 1.88, ranks number 17 in the league. It is just atrocious across every front. And of course, you can see if you compare the teams, as the guys mentioned already, that Sociedad, is ahead of Sevilla in every statistical category. However, instead of looking at the side here in this game, or even the total for that matter, but I do agree with the under if I am choosing one, is I'm looking at the corners again for this match. Sevilla are averaging 7.2 corners per game at home while allowing 5.3, and 5 of 6 matches have finished over 8.5 corners. The one that didn't was against Barcelona, and it landed on 8, so just a half corner short. Sociedad, they've also had their fair share of corner kicks this year. They rank number 1 in the league, averaging 5.8 per game, and 9 of their 13 matches have finished over this total as well. So, and then over the last 2 seasons, all 4 meetings between these teams has seen over 8.5 goals with an average of 10.5 per game. So these games just tend to play out kind of like I was talking about the Dortmund match in a similar aggressive style, even when the goals don't come, because they don't seem to score a lot when they do play, but they do try to push the issue as much. So the corner total is pretty low at 8.5, and I'm going over that total at a -115 price.
All right, Nick Borrman with corners. So that is a new angle. It's the corner angle, Nick. I love it. Best of luck on that one. Let's get on. Actually, let's look at the recap of our plays. Under 2.25 goals for myself and Kevin Dolan. Nick is on over 8.5 corners, and Pavlos on Sevilla in a pick'em line -125. We can all get there somehow, but we can all get there with the proper result here, which is 1-0 Sevilla, I believe. All right, let's get on to the final game on the show, and then, of course, we'll have our best bet segment of the show at the end. This one is EFL Cup game, which goes tomorrow. Man City and Chelsea. Let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Man City -188. The draw is +333. Chelsea is +425. Those are the openers. The current lines now at WagerTalk's live lines, -208 on Man City, +365 on the draw. And Chelsea, a juicy +540 if you think they can beat this Man City team again. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you on this one. I'm leaning under. I know Nick is under the weather. I'm leaning under on every single game today that we've done on the show. And the main thing here is I just don't know what importance City put on this EFL Cup game. And I get their bench is a strong one. You can field a starting unit from that bench. But I think the FA Cup is more important to them. I think keeping some of their players healthy for the upcoming World Cup and some of the Premier League games as well, too, is important to this side. And this is why the line is probably where it is right now. Why do I like the under? The under, their last 5 meetings, including the Champions League a couple years ago, 3 goals or less. 4 of those 5 games have finished 1-0. I just see another low-scoring game between these two, so I'm taking under 3 here. Pavlos?
Yeah, I love that. I'm actually on the under 3 goals as well. As you said, 4 of the last 5 matches, regardless of venue and competition, had under 2.5 goals, and now the line is set at 3. And 4 of those 5 matches ended with the exact same score of 1-0, 2 wins for either side. Now, Chelsea, they're struggling right now, and that's a fact. They were bad against Arsenal over the weekend, especially in the second half, and they eventually lost by 1-0. They had 0.28 xG versus 2.38 xG by Arsenal. In the previous match, they lost to Brighton by 4-1. They again lost the xG battle, 2.88 for Brighton versus 1.08 for Chelsea. And in fact, Chelsea have lost the xG battle in 4 of the last 5 EPL matches against Arsenal, Brighton, Brentford, and Aston Villa. So what's going to happen when Man City are coming to town? Who are, XG monsters? They have the best XG differential. Well, Chelsea have just 0.03, which is just marginal. Now, Chelsea, they've won just 2 of the last 6 matches in all competitions, 2 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. They kept just 1 clean sheet, and they have a problem, a crisis in the defense. Now, Kepa, who recently, took the starting nod away from the other guy, Mendy. He was actually having a really nice season, but now he's injured, which is, again, maybe the balance is a bit, disturbed in that Chelsea defense, but there's more problems as well. Chilwell is out. Fofana is out. Reece James is out. So they've been missing key players. Also, Kante is out. He's been out for the entire season. So they're really struggling to find that defensive stability. And they used Thiago Silva and Chalobah as their starting center backs against Arsenal over the weekend. It didn't really work out for them. Azpilicueta or Koulibaly should be, in the center back position. But I think Koulibaly is nursing an injury. He's still either questionable to participate, or if he's going to play maybe not the whole match. And Azpilicueta, who is probably another good option for that centre back position, just has to play at the right back position because Reece James left a huge gap through his injury, and there's literally no other player in that squad that can play right back. So Chelsea are kind of a crisis right now, and all things considered, I think that the under 3 goals here is the way to go. So at -120, I think that's a fair price and a very safe bet.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos with his thoughts on Man City and Chelsea in the EFL Cup, which goes on Wednesday. Nick, I'm going to go to you next on this one. Listen, I don't want to piss off Blues fans, but I'm kind of happy that I think Chelsea are struggling a little bit this season. Because I said at the beginning of the year in the previews that I thought the Thomas Tuchel magic had worn off on this team. They needed to make some changes, but they didn't until they got rid of him. Graham Potter comes in and some instant results. People are happy, but now the fan base is turning on Graham Potter. 2 draws, the last 4 games, a couple draws and back-to-back losses. One to Brighton, where they were just they were just run out of the house, and then against Arsenal, who just keep on winning Jenga Arsenal, as we call them. Give me your thoughts on this one. Can Potter and the boys pull off the upset here?
Yeah, when you get spanked by Brighton, I can imagine the fan base will turn on you pretty quick. Chelsea has had success against City in the last few years, 11 meetings. Over the last 11 meetings, each has won 5, and there's been 1 draw. So Chelsea certainly has the capability to get a result against City. And in the cup type of matches, these knockout-style tournament games, Chelsea does have the edge with 2 wins and a draw, and that includes, of course, the Champions League final, but also the EFL Cup and the FA Cup. So cup matches, we all know these knockout-style games tend to play out a little differently than the Premier League. Premier League, you're playing a long season. You're happy with getting points any way you can. In a cup match, you're trying to secure a win and doing everything you can to not fall behind, because sometimes it's very difficult to fall behind and play catch-up when you only have a certain amount of time left in the game and it's over. And if you don't do it, you're sent home. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen in these meetings during the cup matches that they all tend to be low scoring. All of them have finished under 3 goals. So I agree with you guys that under, I think, is the way to play this one. Chelsea, another thing that makes me feel good about the under is just offensively, they have not looked good. We mentioned the Brighton game, but against the Gunners this past weekend, which Arsenal won. And maybe we'll finally make Kevin a true believer. I believe he said that in our breakdown, and he'll finally believe in this Arsenal team. But Chelsea only generated 0.28 expected goals in that game. They allowed 2.38 to Arsenal, so I guess that's the worry defensively. But this cup match, I don't know. I think they'll do a little bit better job defensively here. And like Carm mentioned, who knows what City's going to put out there. But I think under is the way to play it. I love the 3 line. If it drops to 2.75, I wouldn't be as excited about it. But at 3, it gives us a pretty good safety net here. So I'm taking under 3 goals in this one.
All right, there you go, Nick Borrman agreeing on the under. Kev, you're getting the last word on this one. And Nick makes a point. And the funny thing is, he's like, maybe Kevin will finally agree that Arsenal are a very good squad. And here's the thing, Kev. You and I could both take Arsenal this coming weekend. They are on the road against 19th in the league, Wolverhampton. And we know what's going to happen in that game. For some reason, Wolves come up with like a 1-0 or 2-0 lead, but or win. Give me your thoughts, Kev, on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be the guy with the final brick, and it's shaking all over the place. We all know what's going to happen there, so I'll stay off that game. But I've always kind of shied away from cup games just because it's more emotion, it's more giant killing scenarios and so on. I just like to stick to the league primarily. But if this was a league game, Manchester City -1, I would be all over them at this current number. As Nick said, look, on Thursday's breakdown, I did say if Arsenal were to go to Stamford Bridge, get a result, I would start to become a believer. I thought they played tremendous in that game. It should have been by more. 1-0 wasn't really enough. I'm just not sure what's going on right now at Chelsea. Pavlos mentioned some of the numbers as well. They ranked bottom of the table out of any team in the EPL over recent 5-game form. In both defensive XGA and expected points, they ranked second from bottom, ahead of only the mighty Crystal Palace in overall offensive XGA over that time frame as well. So they have been an absolute dumpster fire over recent weeks in the league. And, while you could point to a fairly tricky schedule, they face Man United, they face Brighton, Arsenal, all in quick succession, all good teams, obviously. That's no excuse to be coming out of those games, especially considering 2 of those 3 were at home as well, with just 1 point from a possible 9 and a -4 goal differential as well. So, Potter's a good manager. There's no doubt about that. But perhaps when you move to a team like Chelsea, he's reached the diva end of the table now, where it's not solely about tactics. You're not in the Moneyball movie anymore, where you're looking at graphs and XG and so on. Half your day job when you're at these type of clubs is massaging egos with these big players. And I reckon he might be having a real issue with that. I don't know the reason why Chelsea's, struggling so much, especially over the last months. But I do know one thing. Manchester City's numbers absolutely dwarf Chelsea this season, especially recently. Home and away split form, recency bias, all that other stuff. So, as I said, if this was a league game, this would be a 5% play. -1, all over City in this spot. But as it's a cup game, I'll swerve it. And I'll also be swerving Wolves this weekend as well.
All right, let's see how that goes for all of us, Kev. But let's have a look at the recap of the games, and then I want to talk to you guys about a promo before we get into our best bet segment. I am on the under 3. Nick is on the under 3. Pavlos is on the under 3. Now, Kev, if Kev had gone under 3, then our producer Dan and Joe Ranieri would be betting over 3. I could guarantee you that much. So, Kev, thank you very much for taking Man City -1 here and saving us the embarrassment of our producers fading us. Really appreciate that. Guys, I want to mention before we get into our best bet segment of the show that we have the promo going on right now at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, which is great with the World Cup about to start in a mere 2 weeks' time. Buy one, get one. You can basically head over to any Capper's page at WagerTalk and Sports Memo that are on this show, which is the 3 guys you see and myself. And on the right side, you'll see a buy one, get one promo. You'll get 2 months of soccer for the price of 1. So $199. And that's going to cover you right through the World Cup. And of course, into the new year for a few days as well, too. So that is a great deal that you guys can take advantage of. All right, let's get into the best bet segment of our show. And Nick, I'm going to go to you. You're not feeling well, but you picked the team's name that we all never feel well about. Tell us what you got in Germany.
That is true. Well, I can't break down in my favorite league in the MLS, so I'll go to my second one in the Bundesliga. And yes, that is taking Cologne at home in this game. This is Pavlos' favorite team. They're getting a head start at plus a quarter of a goal over Leverkusen. Listen, Cologne have better XG numbers on the season. They've been a tough out at home. They have just one loss in 6 games. They have a plus 0.3 expected goal differential. Their defense ranks number 6 at 1.27 expected goals per game. Compare that to Leverkusen, who've really struggled this year, just 3 wins on the year, minus 0.22 differential, and allowing a whopping 1.74 expected goals. Of course, Leverkusen is coming off a 5-0 blowout win over Union Berlin, who have been very good defensively. And of course, I was on Union Berlin in that game, so that was definitely a bit of a surprise for that big of a win. But I see this as another good fate opportunity for them. Quick turnaround, back on the road, and the team with the better defensive numbers getting a head start. So that's the big reason I'm on Cologne. I always like to play that angle. So Cologne plus a quarter of a goal. Let's hope we don't get, as Pavlos like to say it, colonoscopied here.
I think that's actually.
You definitely don't want that. Pavlos, you're taking us to Spain for your best bet. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say that I have a couple of plays. My famous both teams to score, don't care who wins, a 4% for tonight, a 3% for tomorrow. I added some, added bonuses in there, a goal scorer prop at plus 333, and just a first half draw in the other match. And I have a 4% best bet for the weekend, and more plays are on the way. Now, I'm going to take you guys to Spain for a match between Mallorca and Atletico Madrid. We're going to take the both teams to score at plus 105. Mallorca, they've been really, really good lately. They're coming off a huge 2-0 win on the road against Villarreal. They have now 2 wins and 1 draw in the last 3. They scored in all 3 matches, and I do expect them to score against a soft Atletico Madrid defense that has kept just 2 clean sheets in their last 8 away matches in all competitions. They only kept clean sheets against Bilbao and Sevilla, and we all know that Sevilla can really score. So Atletico Madrid, they're 6-0 to the both teams to score in the last 6 matches, and they have conceded goals against teams like Espanyol, Rayo Vallecano, and Cádiz. And Cádiz actually dropped 3 on them. So I do expect them to concede here, but I do expect them to score as well. Now, Mallorca, they won both matches against Atletico Madrid last season by 1-0 and 2-1, respectively. And trips to Mallorca have been really unfriendly for Atletico Madrid, who have won just 2 of their last 11 matches in this venue with just 2 wins, 5 losses, and 4 draws. So I like both teams to score plus 105. Don't care who wins.
Don't care who wins. We got to get those T-shirts made up, Pavlos. I'm telling you, we need to get that. Kev, I'm going to you. You're taking us to Italy on Wednesday. Tell us what you got as your show best bet.
I am indeed. We got a 5% Spanish Liga Lightning game of the week loaded up for tomorrow as well, Carmine. 13 of 17 cashed outright in La Liga best bets. King of Spain, we all know that. So looking forward to that tomorrow. As you said, I'm going to Italy for my best bet. And we've actually got 5 players loaded up right across Europe. But this is one of them. And we're looking at taking Roma against Sassuolo on the road here. Rough derby loss for Roma against Lazio on Sunday. But even so, Roma's underlying data this season has been absolutely fantastic, especially on the road. They rank number 1 in overall XG, number 1 in defensive XGA, number 1 in expected points. And they face a Sassuolo team here on Wednesday that have struggled somewhat at home this season. They rank bottom half in the league this year on opponent shots per game. They rank 2nd from bottom in defensive XGA over the last 5 league starts as well. So I'm going to take Roma to bounce back in this one with a win. And best bet for tomorrow.
All right. And I am going to stay in Italy, and I'm going to go to a Thursday game. I've tried fading this team twice, and I've gone 1-1 fading them. But I'm going to take Juventus here. They're on the road off a big win against Inter Milan on Sunday. And you're laying about $1.50 with them against a Verona team that the wheels have completely fallen off this team. 8 straight losses in domestic league play, bottom of the league. And this is one, where some returning players to Juventus. Obviously, the big one is one of the best players in Italy. Chiesa is back in the lineup. He was substituted in both of their previous games, and he should be in the lineup here. I'm waiting to see once him and Vlahovic are together again, the 2 Fiorentina guys back together again. That should make them such a cohesive unit. But we're only laying 150 here with this one. I expect this line to go a little bit higher, so grab it early. Juventus minus 150 on Thursday as they travel to Verona to take on bottom of the league Verona. Guys, let's look at the recaps of our show best bets. I am on Juventus minus 150. Nick on Cologne plus a quarter goal. Mallorca and Atletico Madrid both to score at even money for Pavlos, and AS Roma plus 103 for Kevin Dolan. Guys, on Thursday's show, I have details about what we're going to be doing during the World Cup. With the early start times, we're looking to do some daily shows, but we need to make sure we can make it work with our production. I'll have more of that on Thursday. Until then, guys, for myself, Nick Borrman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos Laguretos, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in.
The college basketball season is less than 1 week away, and the season starts with a bang. There are 126 games scheduled for Monday, November 7th, with Baylor and Mississippi Valley State tipping off at noon Eastern Time. We have 2 ways to help you get this season underway. Number 1, as we did for the start of the NHL season and as well as the beginning of the NBA season, all 7-day college basketball packages will be only $49 through Sunday, November 13th at midnight. Number 2, head to Ralph Michaels' homepage at WagerTalk.com and get the free 100-page college basketball preview. The shortcut to Ralph's page is wt.buzz/rm. This 100-page guide has returning starters, percentage of returning minutes, last season's overall stats, as well as conference-only statistics, plus against the spread and over-under data. It also includes coaching data, conference previews, and a forecast for each conference. Whether it's a 7-day college basketball package, checking the WagerTalk odds page for updated numbers, or downloading the free college basketball guide, enjoy this season. And March Madness will be here before we know it.